This next section is titled Core Business Processes, and it came from me trying to solve a problem a very long time ago, the mid-90s it was. I was trying to work out how to create an audit universe, essentially. What are all of the business functions and processes and systems and services and IT applications and networks and all of that for an audit universe? And what I came up with was a generic model, as it turned out, that allowed me for the next 25 years, 30 years to be able to analyze any business and understand its core business processes. And the way I did that was to break them into essentially four parts. The two primary parts, if you like, the two critical or core business processes in every organization, no matter how big or how small they are, what I've discovered is that they all have a product life cycle process and they all have a customer life cycle process, which is supported by two others. Now, every organization is different. I get that. And you can interpret this however you like. There are other models out there too, by the way. Porter's value chain and a few others that I came across as I was exploring this. But this model was really, I guess, my method, my simple method to try and understand the businesses that I was working with or consulting to or advising to. So let's have a look at this. The starting point practically for every business is what is it that they do? You might use the Simon Sinek start with why. Why are we here? What product or service do we put in the marketplace that we sell, or if you're a government agency, that we provide to our community? And essentially, an organization needs a strategy for that. That strategy might have a range of components in them. For example, it might include some customer stakeholder interviews or anything like that. It might be about, a startup business doing, coming up with some great idea. It might include things like looking at market needs and all of that kind of stuff. So when I say product strategy, I mean all of the activities that the organization uses, all the processes it uses to come up with what do we do and how will we go about building and deploying it. The second part of the process then is that from that strategy, the organization then will go into product design and development. Now, I'm being quite kind of brief and narrow here. I know organizations have lots of design processes and development. When you look at the slides in detail, you'll see I mean quite a broad range of things. So let me walk through that. Product design, meaning whatever method your organization uses to design the product. It might be software development, it might be writing specifications. It will include things like engineering and architecture, coding, requirements definition, a whole range of things. It might be a digital product. It might be a service product. So, for example, a health organization needs to work out what health services it will need to build and deploy. And in development, there's things like even acquiring all of the technology, all of the components that you might need. For product design and development, it also includes things like actually manufacturing the product that you've designed and built. So some organizations, to give you some examples of clients of mine, Internet of Things organizations, their product design and development includes getting right through to the point where they have a specification that they outsource then or provide to a third party who does the actual product manufacture. The last part, I think, in this product design and development is then putting into an inventory all of those components ready for the customer and perhaps even the marketing team to get it into the hands of the customer. Now, I call this generically the product life cycle, and it feeds then into the sales and delivery cycle. In other words, as I said, your marketing team, perhaps if you're a bank, it might be tellers in the front office there selling a product to a customer. It might be an online sales team. It might be a web page. It could be a call center or anything like that. Whatever it is that your organization uses to put the product into the hands of or have customers want to buy that product. Now, if I look at one of the organizations I work for, which was kind of where I first did this model, and so this language looks quite strange for them. I worked in education department, and so sales and delivery was more about engaging with the student cohort and the parent groups that were in your local area, perhaps putting out products about the curriculum and the marketing of how well your school performs and those sorts of things. So that's a little different, but that's exactly the same process here. It's trying to encourage the sale of your product and or service. The last part of this particular one is the actual consumption by the buyer of the product themselves. So in my example then of a school, it would be a student turning up in the classroom, consuming the curriculum, performing the exams, getting their results. But if you were selling a product, say my Internet of Things devices organization, their consumption would be the utilization of that product, the data that gets captured by the product and where that data gets stored and how they gain access to it. If you look at, say, our Vital Learning Edge, product consumption would be you consuming this training event. So those were the four steps. Those last two there connect for me to a customer life cycle. And you'll notice that I have a kind of a feedback loop, that each of these might have internal feedback loops within them. But the feedback loop inherently allows an organization to revise its product strategy based on customer feedback. There may be more loops in this than I've got there, but just from a simple perspective, this isn't two independent processes. These are processes that provide feedback and improvement and kind of continual improvement as it goes along. Now, these two base, I guess, business processes are supported by two other components. One is all of those business operations and support functions, for example, finance, legal, HR, and IT capabilities. You could add risk capability and compliance or any other teams. Physical security may be another one. Information security, and all of those kind of business operational and support functions, whose goal it is to support the product and customer life cycle and ultimately the success of the business. And the last one, perhaps the more important one of all of them, are the governance functions that oversee all this. The governance functions that ensure that this product and customer life cycle and all of the support functions ultimately deliver value to the stakeholders, whether they're the customers or whether they're the owners of the company, whether they're the citizens of the state if you're in a government agency, or whomever they may be. The governance functions oversee this and make sure that this is delivering both performance and conformance outcomes the business expects. So that's essentially my business process model.